Welcome, everybody. Your fielderschoice.com. I am back. We said MLB show. Pete Cole, I'm back today. A couple hours later, Formula One DFS here with Chris Besh. Chris, what's going on, my man?
Oh, it's been a crazy Friday morning, getting kids home, getting people to and from school, but ready to dive into this. This is a different F1 race this weekend. They have a different format and qualifying and everything else, so it should be a lot of fun. Like I think we still have a pretty big edge on the rest of the people playing this.
Cool. Yeah, I had a sick kid. I had to go get a kid at school too. So I just got back. But we're here. This will be on demand. So people are not watching it live. If you are watching live, hit us some comments, please. We'll try to answer them in the YouTube comments area. But first of all, your fielderschoice.com. Check us out. Right now, we're going through MLB promo. $25 a month. That includes all sports. So everything's included, including Chris's Formula One. I mean, we've been doing really well. Last night we had somebody hit basketball, hit $1 to $12, $12, a couple grand there. I see we had somebody hit MLB from our premium MLB, which is my sport, for like 25 grand a couple days ago. We had a big soccer win. Our soccer guy, who's also a big horse racing guy, he just won 150 grand. And me and him are going to do some shows on a Kentucky Derby coming up. So that'll be fun. We did a lot of that during COVID here at your Fielder's Choice, YFC, whatever you want to say. But we're here today for Formula One. And once again, free Discord. Check us out and let's get started. First of all, so it looks like we are in Italy this week. And like you had told me earlier, this is Ferrari's home track. And I see some stuff. So once again, I'm not a Formula One guy. I'm not a car guy. I'm the host. But the last show we had was that in Australia?
Australia, 2 weeks ago.
We talked some plays. Crushed that week. I put a lineup together, easy lineup. Crushed. We haven't every week we've won. The first week we had a bunch of takedowns and GPPs. So if you watch this, just listen to Chris. You should do all right, especially in cash. So once again, let's get back. I see there's like this sprint qualifying going on Saturday, which is not they don't do it all the time. So fill me in. Tell me what's going on here. And all I know is we're in Italy and it's Ferrari's home track.
Yeah, I mean, make it easy and just basic for people watching. It's basically they have a qualifying, I think it was today or first thing in the morning, and then they're going to have a quick 21-lap race per se to get the official starting lineup for Sunday. That's the easiest way to explain it. It sucks we can't make lineups for the 21-lap race, but I mean, it'll give us a lot of information. I think it was last year or the year before, there was a lot of rain in this race. So we can't take that data from last year or whenever it was raining. But the thing is it was raining today in practice. So, I mean, we have to watch. I mean, they're going to race regardless. If it's rain, shine, sleet, or snow, these guys are going to race. So it's a little bit different than NASCAR. So that's something we gotta like take a look into.
Like we've seen in Daytona, where especially down where I'm in Florida, we get those crazy storms and they'll cancel Daytona on a Monday or whatever. So if they have a wicked storm, they just keep racing.
Yeah, they have wet tires. They have all different kinds of tires for different scenarios and everything else. So I mean, they're going to race. They're going to get their full race in, and
cool.
Yeah, even if it rains, that's another thing I like about it. I mean, these cars are going to go fast, but they can handle the rain and everything else.
And they're fairly quick races too. I mean, the first race was over like an hour and a half. Next thing I know, I had my winnings and I was all set.
Yeah, I mean, like Sunday's race is 63 laps. It's a 4.9 mile or kilometers track. I don't know what that goes to in miles off the top of my head. I'm not doing math right now, but it's a fairly short race. 63 laps. You're looking at maybe one or two pit stops at max. I mean, they don't pit like they do in the NASCAR series. So there's just the edge this weekend is going to be if it rains or not. If it rains, it's going to be a shit show. I mean, there's going to be cars wrecking, spinning, and that's how people are going to gain track position. So,
and we still have this is still like the showdown type where you have a captain.
Yes, we still have the. Yep, we still have the same thing. As you mentioned before, it's Ferrari's home track. And Carlos Sainz Jr. just signed an extension with Ferrari. So it's a big weekend for Ferrari overall. I mean, they got the best driver in the world. They just signed their number 2 driver to a contract extension, and they're at home. So, I mean, there's a lot going on in the world of Ferrari this weekend in Italy.
So as Carlos Sainz is Ferrari, what is Leclerc? he's like the big guy now, right? He's like the big
He's
name, right?
yeah, he's the man. I mean, he's finished first or second in all 3 races so far this year. He's started on the pole twice. He's unbelievable. So it's either him or Verstappen. But Verstappen's he hasn't only finished 1 race, and the 1 race he finished he won, but the other 2 races he's had car problems. So that's something to keep an eye out moving forward, especially for this weekend. I'll go through and read notes and everything on everything else. I mean, he had the fastest lap in qualifying. Verstappen did. He was 3rd in practice number 1. So I mean, he's got the car. It's just can they get their car to the end every week?
I see Leclerc's number 1 in the driver standings by like 40 points. Everybody else is bunched in there. Russell, Sainz, Perez, Hamilton. All right, I see Russell's price is the same as last week, so he may be a play. So I'm here babbling. What do I know? So let's talk. Let's talk about so we don't bore everybody. Let's talk about anybody's here. Actually make a lineup and make a lineup and make some money. So maybe quickly again, give me like your lineup building strategy. Like I know how to build a showdown lineup for MLB, NFL, but how do you do one for Formula One? Are you captaining the big guy, or are you captaining the value point per hour guy, and go on and let's hit what's the top overall, the top plays that you have to have, the must have this week.
Yeah. So going back to building lineups, and we talked about it 2 weeks ago, I typically am going to captain the person I think is going to win the race and lead the race, which will most likely be Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, maybe Russell, someone of the big 3 teams, Ferrari, Red Bull, or Mercedes. So far, if you look, and I know, we tell people all the time, don't look at fantasy points per like their average fantasy points or how much they've scored and everything else. But I mean, if you look at it here in F1, you're going to notice a massive gap in Charles Leclerc averages 36.2 fantasy points per race. The next closest is Russell at 18. I mean, that's a huge gap. So if you don't roster Leclerc and captain, and he goes off for 40 fantasy points and you get 1.5, you're already behind. So I typically will, especially in F1, roster these higher priced drivers and people that I think are going to win. Because as you can see, I mean, Leclerc scored 39, 30, 40, and he's won 2 races. So he's going to get about 40 points if he wins the race, or whoever wins the race. And I think we discussed 2 weeks ago that we're going to, especially in cash, to maximize your upside in cash and GPP, you want to pair your team with your driver that you have as your captain. So Ferrari, Leclerc. GPP, the winning strategy was Leclerc as your captain, and then people would roster Mercedes because they had 2 drivers finish and they got the double points that way. So, I mean, GPP, you can mix and match constructors. I would typically stay with the top 3. Maybe look at a Alpine, F1, or a Haas, but I mean, I wouldn't go all the way down to these Williams or any teams like that because they're not going to score many more points. So, I mean, back to the question Pete was going. I just rambled on there for a minute. Captain, it's going to be one of the big dogs: Leclerc, Verstappen, maybe Carlos Sainz, maybe Lewis Hamilton, or Russell would be kind of where I'd start my builds this weekend.
So the last spot, the constructor spot, which is like the team, like you said, so what if one team only has 1 driver, but another team has 4? You want to take the team with 4, right? But they may cost you more, though, right?
Well, yeah, but every team has 2. Every team has 2 drivers. There's no 4 driver teams. Team.
Okay. All right.
trying to get some kind of edge in there.
That's what I was thinking. So you got. I know you got like Ferrari. I know you got Red Bull. I know those names. What other teams do we have? Or
I mean, the only 3 that the Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes. They're a league above everybody else, in my opinion. If you, like I said, we're just not something you need to live by. But looking at just the fantasy points per race, I mean, Mercedes is 22 or 28, Red Bull's 22, and Ferrari is 47. And then the next closest after that's down to 11. So, I mean, you're really not getting points for those weak constructors. So my guess would be stick with those 3, mix and match them in all your lineups, and I wouldn't go any lower than 9K Mercedes if you want my personal opinion.
So you're looking at, for captain spot, Leclerc, Russell, was it Sainz you said?
Yeah, Sainz would be like a GPP pivot off
Or
Leclerc.
Perez. Sainz or Perez. Did you mention
Perez too. Yeah. Perez, Verstappen. I mean, I would look at the big boys: Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Those six, and then like as some value captain options. Bottas with Alfa Romeo Racing. They have actually a Red Bull or a Ferrari engine specs kind of thing where it's a big weekend for them as they're not Ferrari, but they are, if you get what I'm saying. So Bottas races well here. He's got a good car. His price went down from last week, which is real good. He was 8K last week, 6,800 this week, just regular spot hill, but he's a good captain play at only 10.2. I would not fully punt. I think Bottas would be the lowest I'd go for captain this week.
So if you want to play Charles Leclerc, there should be plenty of value on a slate where you can captain him comfortably, right, without blowing up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100, yeah, easy. I mean, you can even pair Leclerc and Ferrari, and it leaves you 5,400 per driver. And we got a few guys down here in the 3K range that I really like this week.
All right. One guy just popped out at me I think we talked about him last race, was this, and I'm probably butchering names, Zhao Guanyu.
Mm-hmm.
He was last race, he was 44. Now he's 4,000. I mean, he's finished 10, 11, and 11, which I guess isn't bad, right? I mean, that's not bad for somebody's debut in Formula One season. So
no, it's good. The problem is he's with Alfa Romeo, and so his teammate is Bottas, and so Bottas is the better driver. Bottas has finished better than him twice, so Bottas is getting those 5 extra points that he's not getting. So that's the key. Is you got to look at who their teammate is and if they can beat their teammate. Like Zayu he's a good driver. I mean, shoot, 10, 11, 11, but he's not beating Bottas. He's only beat him once. So that's what's limiting his upside.
All right, you're going to have all this in Discord, right, this weekend?
Oh, yeah. We'll have a lot of notes. I'll post notes. I mean, what I did last week was I went through after practice and right before the race, I went through and wrote down posted what every single team said about their car, which, as I told you last time we were talking, Pete, is listening to what these drivers say about their car is key. I mean, Verstappen said his car was struggling. He was having troubles. He couldn't get in turns. And guess what? His car blew up early in the race and he was dead. And so I was big on him early in the week. And then when that news came out, I got off him after reading things like that. So, I mean, those are just little inside edges that I'll post in Discord, and it's for free.
I was going to say, and this week we're going to make even your quarters. Let's make everything free this week. So, because we have free rooms, we have premium rooms. So anybody that's watching, we'll put it in a free F1 room. So the whole weekend will be free for Formula One, and then you'll post all your quarters, GBP cash, whatever, and all your notes Saturday. This is Sunday morning, right? Like
9 a.m.
It's a normal time Sunday morning, right? 9 a.m. Eastern, right?
9 a.m. Eastern, which is, wake up, have a cup of coffee, watch some F1, and then start your day, get ready for MLB. You'll be done by the time MLB starts.
Yep, and with some money, MLB starts at 105. So, all right, cool. So, so we got our top drivers. Sounds like you're on Leclerc, like we've been, and he's been winning. Who do we got mid-range and sleeper? I mean, I'm just seeing guys like I just remember from last time, Alex Albon, maybe Kevin Magnussen. I remember we talked about him. So give me some names that these guys can look for to build the middle of their lineups and maybe give me some value, some point per dollar plays.
Yeah. So, I mean, all this right now, I like to preference everything we're about to talk about with a grain of salt, because if we come in and we get some crazy qualifying and we get some chalk plays in the back, starting in the back or starting up front or something like that, then everything we talk about will be not for nothing, but it'll change the way we build lineups. First guy that stood out for me, looking at everything, he's been fantastic for McLaren, was Lando Norris. He started 4th last week, finished 5th, got 16 points. The week before, started 11th, finished 7th, got 14 points. That's 2 double-digit points for 8K driver. His price has gone up big time, but for good reason. He's beaten his teammate, every race but one. So his teammate's right behind him at 7,600. So depending on where they start, I'm looking at Norris as like one of my next guys in at 8K, and I'm clicking names while we're doing this and trying to build a lineup like that. We touched on Bottas there early. I'm gonna be one of those guys that most likely is gonna lock him into about 90% of my lineups. He's just too good of a driver. Yeah, he's just too good of a driver. He's better than his teammate, even though you like his teammate there. His teammate's good, but he just doesn't have the upside of beating Bottas unless Bottas wrecks out. I'm going to lock Botas in most of my lineups this week at 6,800. I think it's just too cheap. So if you're following along at home, that's 3,500 per driver.
And he finished second in the 2020 Grand Prix here, I see.
Yeah, but that was back with Ferrari. I mean, he was with a different team, or Mercedes. Okay. He was with Mercedes then. So I mean, it's a different team, but he knows his way around this track for sure.
So is that important? I mean, since he won, I know you said he was on obviously a different team, whatever, but if these guys win on certain tracks and they know the track, I mean, that's giving them an edge, obviously.
Yeah, it can for sure. But I mean, this Alfa Romeo car and engine and everything else is just not as good as Red Bull and Ferrari. So I mean, if he's up there at the end, it's because there's been wrecks or something along those lines. Like he's worked his way up there. It's not because his car is better than those other cars. It's different in that. It's different in F1 than it is NASCAR. I mean, like these lower teams, like the Williams and the Aston Martin F1 team. I mean, they're not going to win races unless something just crazy happens. So it's a little bit different than NASCAR, where NASCAR is trying to get anybody that can win a race now.
All right.
Okay. So
I have a name. I'm going to ask you about one name.
Go for it.
Down there in the cheaper range. I'm looking at stats. I'm looking at rankings. Whatever. Alex Albon, 3,600. Mm-hmm. So it says that there's only. So 3,600 is cheap, and there's only three drivers cheaper than him: Vettel, Stroll, and Latifi. Yet there's like 10, 11 guys lower than him in rankings and ratings. So is Albon at 3,600? Good play. Looks like his last race in Melbourne was his first time he actually got points. Or am I way off?
No. He got points. He finished 10th, started 20th, finished 10th. The good thing about Albon is 95% of the time he's going to beat his teammate Latifi. Or I think that's how you say his name. He's just Latifi's not in a good car. He's not going to finish a lot of races. As you can see, he starts around 18th to 20th, and he finishes right around 16th to 18th.
How many drivers in a race? No.
20, 21, 22, so 22 or 20. Unless someone drops out or is not in the race. Like a car breaks down, like, they can't get the car ready for the thing or whatnot. But I mean, Albon was definitely on my short list this week. He's 3 races, averaging 12th place per race, beating his teammate every single time. I mean, he's only averaging 8 fantasy points, but like I said, this is where you're winning and losing GPPs. If he beats his teammate, and if he finishes in the points, I mean, like we saw last week, he got 12 points, and that 3,600, 12 points is a lot in F1. So, I mean, he is definitely somebody that I like. And if you're building along, right now we've got Leclerc, Norris, Bottas, Albon. So then it comes down to Stroll or Vettel, because you don't want to pair teammates together. And I lean Lance Stroll here just because he's beating his teammates 2 of the 3. He seems to have the better car. Vettel is the better driver. He just missed the first 2 races of the year. So it's kind of, I mean, if you're building at home, so I mean, if this is just a mock-up draft, kind of going through pricing and everything. So if you put in Stroll right there, you got 300 left over for your lineup, but that could change come qualifying. And then let me look at some notes real quick.
Here, I thought I was on something. This Alex Albon guy. As you're talking, I'm going through and like everybody's on Alex Albon. So obviously, there's no simple pick there.
He's gonna. I mean, especially if he starts 15 back. I mean, which he has every single race except for one. But he's gonna be popular. He's gonna be your $3,600 punt for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna be like a core value, right?
Yeah, most likely. And just we've only had one practice so far. So looking at practice 1 numbers, guys that really stood out. We've talked about him in the past. Kevin Magnussen for Haas Ferrari. There's another one of your Ferrari teams. He's a solid thing. The problem with him is he's gotten worse every week. He 16 points week 1, 8, and then 1 last week or 2 weeks ago. So I mean, he's going down, but that means his price is going down back to a more reasonable price range. He finished 4th in practice 1. His teammate Mick Schumacher, finished 5th. So those 2 are going to battle it out. I would say whoever starts in front of the other would be kind of who I'd go for there. Just trying to look at things that are standing out from practice. something that I caught, and this has happened every single week this year. The first two practices, Mercedes, aka Lewis Hamilton, has been awful. He was 18th in practice one in speed, which is terrible. But they always get their car right and get it on track. So people are going to talk about fading this Mercedes team. I might fade Lewis Hamilton, but I might go to his team George Russell a lot more than Hamilton this week.
Okay.
So I was on fade Mercedes last week, and it came back to bite me because Russell actually his car was very good last week. Hamilton finished fourth, Russell finished third. So that's just something to keep an eye on. It's something I'll mention, tomorrow night after qualifying and more practices and everything else comes out.
I tell you, I know it's a totally different thing, but back in the day, like 5 years ago, when I won that Mayweather fight GPP, and
I remember that was crazy.
we went out to Vegas, and it was like $100K for the winner, but the Mayweather fight, and some things fell through. And FanDuel was cool though, so we were supposed to do a bunch of other things. So they took me to the track, and I went to a driving school, and I drove a Ferrari around the track, and I'll tell you what, I've never felt so much like power in my life in a car. We did like 140 miles an hour, I guess it was, but obviously they go faster than that, but it was crazy. What a rush. So if anybody ever has a chance to do that, I know like down here, I think they have schools like in Daytona and stuff. You can go like driving school and stuff, but it was probably the biggest natural rush I ever had in my life. And you got to do like all this other stuff before you even go in a car, and then you go in the drive with
Was it just a normal Ferrari car, or was it a F1 car or something?
It was. I have to show you pictures. It was a race car, but I can't remember. It was back in the day. But I remember it was a Ferrari. You had to wear a whole suit and helmet and everything. But what an experience! So if anybody ever has that kind of experience, at a local like NASCAR track, I know they do it. They like the petty driving school. Something to do. It's what a rush it is. So
I can imagine.
Anything else? Anything else to tell us for Sunday's race? Or
if you haven't watched Formula One, I recommend, like Pete said, it's an hour and a half at most.
That's cool.
Of your Sunday morning, and then you get to, it rolls right into MLB, which that rolls right into Talladega this weekend. So it's just one thing after the other. They don't extend these races like ungodly amounts. They want to get the race going, get the winner. The pit stops take like 3 seconds. If you watch these pit stops, they're incredibly awesome to watch. The guy just rolls in, they put the tires on, take them off, bam, they're out. It's cool.
And F1's a sport now. I said we saw a bunch of NASCAR guys are talking that their kids all want to be Formula One drivers. They don't even want to be NASCAR drivers. Like, this is the thing now, Formula One.
This is and honestly, Netflix had it's been big worldwide. But it hasn't been big in the United States until that Netflix series came out, and it got real big up here in the United States.
Yeah, that was a good series. So anybody actually is playing Formula One DFS, I would recommend watching that.
I would too. It's fantastic.
A friend of mine did the track in Miami, did all the paving. He's a paver. And he's the one that actually got me onto that show, because I guess he knows a bunch of guys that were in that show, and it was an incredible show. So.
Yeah, and it's funny because like the drivers come back and they're like, all right, so what do you guys want to talk about this year on this season? They love doing that show, so it gives you a really cool insight to the Formula One world, which is very, very popular overseas and in Europe and everything else. Yeah. So just to wrap things up, just be in Discord tomorrow. We got few hours until they start doing the next practices, and then we'll have the sprint race basically where we get qualifying, and then they'll have another practice after that. No, they won't. They have one practice, and then they have the sprint, and then we have the race on the 24th. So a lot of things coming up. A lot of things could change. I'll make sure to post everything that I see, and then I think it's next week, Pete. I think they're going to be down there in Miami, down in your world.
I know it's coming up.
It's coming. It's the next race after this one. I don't know if it's May 8th, and I don't even know what day of the week it is right now.
Obviously, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. So you'll have, I might drive down there. We can go to that.
So why that'd be a trip? Why did they call it? So I'm seeing that. So there's practice 6:30 Saturday, then there's the qualified and 10:30 a.m. Saturday, and then they call it the start of the race lights out at 9 a.m. Sunday. Why do they call it lights out?
They just call it. They just call it lights out. I don't know the background of it. Yeah, that's just when lights out. When the green light goes out, there it goes.
Oh, okay, I get it. All right.
So yeah.
So kind of wrap things up. And this is good. It only took like a half hour, nice and concise. Once again, we're going to make Formula One free this weekend on yourfielderschoice.com. And I should be able to post our Discord. I see G. I'm not sure if you're watching or not. Can you? I guess I can type in our Discord channel. Just check. It's free, and your this is going to put all this information in the free room this week. So hopefully we'll get some winners. As I said, every week we've had a winner. We've had either GPP takedown. We've cashed, definitely cashed every week, easy. And then please help you join. Just $25 a month, first 2 months, everything included. Once again, Chris, give us your core 3 guys and like a sneaky play.
Here we go. The Friday afternoon core is going to be, and you can decide who you want to put in your captain spot, but it is 100% going to be Charles Leclerc, Albon, and Bottas. That is where I'm going to start 90% of my lineups this week. That's most likely where I'm starting most of my lineups this week. My sneaky pick, Leclerc and Verstappen are your favorites to win this race. Sainz, Perez, and Lewis Hamilton are your next 3 to, place and get on the podium for this race. But my sneaky pick this week that people are probably going to shy away from is I'm going Lando Norris is going to make a top 3 finish here in Italy. Lando Norris, we talked about him earlier in the race. He's gotten better each week. If he starts up in the 4 or 5 range like he did last week, I think he could probably hold off some of these bigger teams if the rain happens. So Lando Norris, top 3, book it.
There you go, Lando Norris. And I guess that's it because, well, I said we'll have a lot of information after the qualifying, lead up to Sunday morning. If I find information, I'll post it. I'm always looking around and stuff. I'm going to play this week. Hopefully my streak stays alive. Hopefully somebody has takedown at YFC or watching this show. Everybody, thanks for watching this show. It'll be on demand till Sunday. Chris,
and remember we have Talladega this weekend too, so make sure you guys get in there for Eric. It's a big weekend in racing.
I meant to bring that up at the beginning of the show, Eric. I'm sorry about that. And Chris just gave you a plug. We have a really good NASCAR guy, Big E. Eric does a great job NASCAR. It's Talladega. It's one of the fastest races, right? It's a what do you call it? A major track or a speedway or
super speedway. There you go. So you're struggling there, Pete.
Eric always has great content, good cores. He's always filling the free room full of information for NASCAR. So check us out, especially the free content this weekend for NASCAR and Eric's NASCAR, Chris's Formula One. And I guess that's it. Keep going with baseball. We're finally starting to get on a roll in baseball again after a great first week. And
don't forget that
USFL tonight. Soccer tomorrow. What do you got? Chris is also our tennis guy. Anything going on for tennis right now?
We just have a couple clay court tournaments going on, waiting on the French Open coming up next month in May, and then we go right into Wimbledon after that. Tennis is about to really pick up, and they're about to have $25,000-$50,000 first place prize pools in GPP. So.
And we'll do some shows for tennis too, DFS tennis, because that's like the one sport that gets kind of like a push aside in DFS. But so for any major tennis events,
they play all. I mean, it's posted all week. There's big prize pools for the big GPP and everything else. So I mean, we cover it all, especially tennis, NASCAR, small sports, like you say, Pete, small sports.
And I know I'm forgetting some like hockey. I see hockey is crushing again. So Mark's doing a great job there. And I guess that's it. We can go on and on. But everybody, thanks for tuning in. We will see you in Discord. See you Sunday morning. Good luck, everybody. Chris, thanks a lot for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. Have a good Friday, good weekend. Let's get some money on these races.
All right. Deuces. Peace out. Thank you.
Later.